What's up, everybody? Welcome back to yet another episode here of House Divided. Crazy weekend of college football. A lot of SEC teams going down on the road. But first, let's recap our best bets and stuff like that. I don't even know what to say anymore on my part.
Huge weekend from Rods. Huge, right? This is what you needed to come out of your hole, surely.
I dug myself in a further hole. I still got one more out there with Lad McConkey. Hopefully, he can add one more win in that tally. But did absolutely awful. Hit one headline. I didn't count the Brian Robinson as a loss because he did get injured throughout the game and didn't even play at all. So, but awful weekend for me. Jose, on the other hand, still has a lot left. A lot of Monday night things. We'll update y'all on that on Friday when we release our predictions. Just real quick, we'll do that recap from the Monday night games because this is being filmed before that game has even started.
Mm-hmm.
But yep, still in a big hole.
Yeah. It looks like I'm winning. Keep shooting us up in the comments, and the punishment can start getting crazier, guys.
No.
Reasonable.
Playoff, college, and NFL games left, so I think I can at least make it respectable. I don't know if I'll come back, but I need to do something. I need you guys might have to start fading me because this is not. I'm on a cold streak right now. But anyway, let's go into our first topic. Bama and Ole Miss go down. Are their playoff hopes dead?
They should be for both of those teams, in my opinion. 3 losses, embarrassing losses at this point too. 3 interceptions from Milroe, not something you ever want to see. In my opinion, there are just teams that should be ahead of them, including a team that just lost in Indiana. I feel like they're similar. I think they're similar tier level teams, but the losses will just come to favor Indiana. And honestly, I mean, I think maybe both teams, in my opinion, that make the ACC championship, which should be Miami and SMU, I have them both ahead as well. So, in my opinion, that should kill the playoff hopes of both of these teams.
Yeah, I think 3 losses, unless like your schedule is insane or you lose in a close game in a championship game in the SEC, kills you. These teams really don't have any other more quality wins they can add to their resume, and they're just dead in the water. And unfortunately, none of them can make the championship anymore, and it's just unfortunate for them. Poor Jackson Dart cried after he threw that interception, and then he got another chance and threw one again.
Yeah.
But I do not feel bad for that guy. He's too cocky sometimes. Yeah, he absolutely collapsed when his whole team and the whole playoff hopes were on his back.
Yeah. It's just the interception. Defense gets him the ball back. Interception, overturned, and decides to throw another interception.
Yeah, clearly he was either didn't want to play into December and just party the rest of his time in college, or he just sucks.
Yeah, the moment got to him, definitely. And ended, in my opinion, should have fairly ended Ole Miss's playoff hopes. And then later that night, same thing goes for Milroe. Even less respectable. You just got blown out by what's been a bad team this year, a team that's been beat by bad teams, a team that's been blown out a lot. So just not what you want to see from the Crimson Tide, and they should be out as well.
It kind of looked like Jackson Arnold and Milroe swapped abilities.
They swapped roles, yeah. Thunderstruck with KD is what they must have done that before the game.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy to watch. I was more focused on our game. We'll get to that in a little bit, but I was keeping an eye on it because with Alabama losing, even though we unfortunately lost to Auburn, I'll go more in detail. We still have a chance to make the championship and win out and make the playoffs.
We'll preview better later this week, but Georgia's clinched, and the other spots clinched too. It's just the winner of Texas A&M, Texas. So we'll look more into it later. But yeah, Alabama losing definitely, and Ole Miss as well, opening that up for both of those teams.
Yeah, exactly.
But speaking of teams that have been going down, we talked about a couple of big SEC teams. Let's talk about a couple of Big 12 big teams that went down this week. both the Colorado Buffaloes and the BYU, they both went down. So those are two favorites. The Big 12 has been blown completely open. What do we expect there? Who's going to the championship game? And are we looking at the 5th conference championship here? No bye week on the line?
This is tricky. Watching that BYU Arizona State game, the 1 second left on the clock and the coach getting all mad, that was funny. But honestly, Kansas does it again, kills another SEC or Big 12 champion, hopeful, kills them. I don't know exactly how the tiebreakers are going to work, but as of now, I think it's Arizona State, Iowa State, maybe. And that completely changes from what we had BYU Colorado a week ago, 2 weeks ago, that it looked like for sure they're in. We said they're in unless they both choke, and choke they did.
Yep.
Especially more BYU Colorado could only afford one more loss, but BYU dropped the last 2 games.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they could have been the last 3 if they didn't have a little help against Utah.
Yeah, I think Arizona State's just rolling right now, and I do like Iowa State a lot, but I think in the championship, I think Arizona State gets it done, and the Sun Devils punch their ticket. I don't think the Big 12 one will get a bye unless something else crazy happens in this next week, but I think they'll get an automatic bid and be at 11 or 12 seed.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Arizona State is looking like the team with the most momentum in the Big 12 right now, other than Kansas. But Kansas's record, they're not going to make anything of it. So I do think we get an Iowa State, Arizona State. I think Arizona State takes care of business, and I think they cement themselves again the 12th seed. Because unless anything happens to Boise State or to an absolute ACC collapse like we just saw with the Big 12. So that's how I see this playing out.
Yep, I agree. Moving on to some teams that already clinched their spot in the championship before this last weekend. Oregon, SMU, and Georgia, like we mentioned, they've all got their championship spots. Who do you think they'll end up playing?
Oregon, to me, is very, very simple to predict who they're playing. It's going to be the Ohio State Buckeyes in a rematch. This time it'll be in neutral field, but I'm picking Ohio State to go with them for 2 reasons. The other main contender is Indiana. Well, I think Indiana has the easier game this week. I don't think Ohio State has any really. They're 20.5-point favorites against Michigan. I don't think they'll have any trouble taking care of business in the shoe this week, and they're going to cement their spot in a big, big, big game against Oregon in a 1-2 Big Ten championship. SMU, I think they're going to face the U. They're the top 2 ACC teams, and so I don't really see Miami losing. And I know Clemson's already finished out their conference schedule. They're just really hoping for that Miami loss, and I don't think it's going to come. And then UGA, I think the Texas Longhorns beat A&M, so I'm going to go with a Georgia-Texas rematch in the SEC championship.
Okay. I agree with 2 of those there. I think Oregon is going to play Ohio State. Finally, a big, interesting Big Ten championship.
Yeah, we don't. No more divisions. No more Purdue or Iowa sneaking in while Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State are stuck on the same side.
Yeah, some of those games, like going into it, you don't even want to watch it because you know what's going to happen. But finally, obviously, you said 1 versus 2. Going to be a great game, rematch of an amazing game earlier in the season. Yeah. We'll preview that when it gets to it. But
obviously,
yeah. And then SMU, Miami, I agree. I don't think Miami loses again, and I think that would be a good game too. And Georgia is going to play the Texas A&M Aggies.
Nope.
The only reason we lost this weekend is because Elko was focused on you guys. We knew we had to beat y'all no matter what. So why give up a lot to just focus on you guys? I think a night game in Kyle Field, great atmosphere. In the SEC, I think the only team that has gone on the road and won a night game is obviously Georgia to you guys, and then Bama to LSU. But all the other We saw Oklahoma defeat Bama. We saw Auburn beat us. We saw South Carolina beat us. We beat LSU. It's just everyone beating each other in that games. LSU beating Ole Miss. We've seen it, and I think it'll happen again. And I think we clinch our spot to the SEC championship finally, and we play a neutral game in Atlanta, Georgia.
That Atlanta, Georgia confirmed spot for years is so wrong.
Yeah,
we got to move it around.
That's not neutral, man. That's
that
80,
is not neutral.
70 to 30, I would say. Especially for one of us Texas teams, they just have to travel a couple hours. We have to fly or drive a bunch of hours.
Yeah, no, that is horrible. That is not neutral. You said 70-30. I'm going to go closer 80-20 with how easy it is to get from Athens to Atlanta. And if you're living in Atlanta, there's a good chance you're an alumni from UGA. I'm just going to reiterate. I disagree with you saying Tamu's going to be there. We're talking about a team that just lost to Peyton Thorne. They lost to Peyton Thorne.
Hey, Cam Coleman's good. We'll get into the preview of that on the next episode. I don't want to get off topic.
No, we're not getting off topic here. Just you lost to Peyton Thorne.
Peyton Thorne and my Aggies. That was a crazy game to watch. Obviously started off like 21-0 and Auburn came out like a rocket shot out of a cannon. Mm-hmm. And finally in the second half and late first half, we started coming back, started chipping away, pushed it to double OT. And then freaking Amari Daniels just drops the 2-point conversion in the end zone. Obviously, it shouldn't have gone into that point. We're a way better team than Auburn, but it's just sad to see just such an easy pass dropped when the game's on the line. But I'm not too stressed. I was scared going into that game. Didn't think we were going to lose, but it is what it is. We just got to take care of business. Like Jackson Dart once said, got to win out, man.
Gotta win out. You got to get Marcel Reed in the black hoodie, and you got to make him think he's Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker. That worked for – he said that, and they beat Georgia. So
I will say something that's very concerning, 2 things. One specifically from that game and one from the whole season. From that game, having Payne Thorne dot us up, obviously those receivers are talented, but having him dot us up the way he did, not good for us, especially against Quinn coming up and maybe Carson Beck in the future. Obviously, he hasn't been what he has been, but Payne Thorne dot us up, so I think Carson Beck's better than him. But the second thing is, I saw a stat today. We have not had a holding penalty called against us. Like our D line has not had a holding penalty called from like the opposite offensive line since we played Bowling Green in September 21st. I don't really know if that's us, our D-line not putting enough pressure, but I feel like we have, or just refs not seeing stuff. But I feel like that's crazy to me.
That's a crazy stat.
Yeah.
Like from a standpoint, like I used to play offensive line, and I think on 95% of the plays you could call holding, and you're going to review it, and it's like, oh yeah, I guess you could have called holding there. So to not have any called with the amount of plays that have been played since then, it's definitely incriminating of that Texas A&M defense that we hold to such a high regard. So yeah, that's a scary stat, especially with a good Texas offensive line that they'll be facing. My takeaway from this loss to Auburn though is you definitely got to fear the pass defense you guys have, especially facing those big receivers next week. If Peyton Thorne could do that and a true freshman wide receiver were doing that, it's tough. So.
Yeah. I think it'll be interesting, but I think some of the noise is going to get to Quinn, but I don't want to go into the preview of that game.
Well, we have a lot of it prepared for next.
Yeah, we'll dedicate like 20 minutes to that game next time. But moving on, let's go into our top 10 of this week. A lot of movement, a lot of teams going down, a lot of new teams coming in. Let's see. Let's take a look at yours real quick.
Yep. All right, I'm going to start us off. My top 3 will be staying the same. Oregon off the bye. Ohio State, huge win against another top 5 opponent. Texas, again, good enough win. They stay where they are. Next, I used to have Penn State there. I had to pull them down. I know they won, but it was a 1-point win in which they were down the whole game to a lesser unranked opponent. who's lost to some bad teams this year. Like that, it's like this isn't a great team this year. So I'm gonna have to move Penn State down against Notre Dame, who played a great game against a ranked team. Georgia, I mean, I'm just gonna say they took care of business, so that's why they went up against Penn State, and they looked a lot more convincing against a bad team. Tennessee comes back into my rankings, and so do Miami. They'd been down because of recent losses, but I have big wins from both of them. They're taking care of business wins from both of them this weekend, and that's why they were able to leapfrog because the team's losing, and they took care of business. And then I put them ahead of Boise State because Boise State didn't convince me this week the way I'd hoped against a 2-loss team. So that's but they still move up, mostly because of people losing below them, though. And then SMU finds their way into my top 10. Great win from SMU this week. Clinched their ACC championship spot, and I think them versus Miami could be a great showdown that we really weren't expecting earlier this year, but it'll be special.
Yeah, I agree. We all had Florida State in that game, but
we all did, and
wow, got the second win. Yep. All right, I'll go into mine real quick. Kind of the same top three. Won't go too much. Georgia, staying put. I think same top four actually. Georgia staying put. Notre Dame moving up 4 spots, mostly because people losing. I had all the SEC teams there, but also I was impressed with the way they dominated Army. Obviously, Army was a ranked team, undefeated. They were good, and I have them ahead of Penn State because I think they've had better wins than Penn State with beating A&M and Army. Obviously, they're lost in Northern Illinois. I feel like it's just a facade or an anomaly in this season. And then I got Tennessee at 7, moving up with Ole Miss and Bama losing. I mean, they don't have a chance to make the championship, but they're a really good team. And I think with all this chaos, they benefited the most, sliding right into that playoff spot. And then I got Miami coming back into it. They always play some close games and in the fourth quarter blow it open, but they're crazy. They have a crazy pass attack and a rush attack here and there. Their defense is concerning, but they're a good team. I got Boise State coming into the top 10. Ashton Genty been doing his thing, and they've been taking care of business. Their only loss being a close loss early in the season at Oregon. So I think they're a good team. They're taking care of business. They'll get probably that bye spot for a conference champion. And then lastly, I got Indiana falling 6 spots. Obviously, you can't blame them for losing at Ohio State. Ohio State we have as the number 2 team in the country, but they were getting dominated in all facets of the game, and they just don't really have a quality win. So I dropped them a little bit, but they also benefited a lot from all those teams losing.
Yeah, it definitely keeps them higher up than they would have been had Alabama won, had Ole Miss won. So good for them in that regard.
Exactly. But that concludes our segment for college football. Let's move on to the NFL. The Cowboys win in a shocking, crazy end. I think it was 13-9 with 6 minutes left, and ended up, 27-26 or something like that?
34-26 because of the onside touchdown.
Yeah, 34-26. Yeah.
So, Dallas can't even tank, right? Can't even tank, right? No. Great win from the Cowboys. Washington has sputtered out these last 3 games. That's 3 losses in a row. Jaden Daniels is no longer an offensive rookie of the year lock with Bo Nix's ascension. But yeah, crazy end. Good to see Cooper Rush and the Cowboys winning again. Reminds us of what they did that last time Dak was out. But yeah, I don't think it'll have the biggest implications. Cowboys, will fall a little on the board. But the biggest implications are going to be for Washington's wild card fight, and I still think they have a good hand in that. So,
yeah, I think like always we can't run the football very much. It was all through the air. Cooper Rush was throwing some dots to CDs, some to Tolbert, but some to Shoemaker with Jake Ferguson being out. But Honestly, I mean, as a fan, obviously it's nice to see your team win, but obviously I don't know how we're allowing an 86-yard touchdown with 30 seconds left, and then made it so hard for ourselves to get lucky with a missed extra point, and then, well, we know what happens from there. But honestly, I would have rather lost unless we can win out and make the playoffs. I want a Travis Hunter, a franchise-changing player, but you can't get too greedy. But
with the amount of bad teams there are right now, you might have Ashton Jean team might be the closest you get to that.
yeah, but if we lost out, I feel like some 3-win team would have won, so we ended up like with the top 5. But is what it is. Good win. Good to see CD put up some fantasy points, but yeah, not much to say. If we start winning, then I'll have more to say, maybe because we can sneak into a wild card spot. But I think we'll win this week against the Giants, but that's just me.
Yeah, dude. When they waived Daniel Jones, it's like, please go to the Cowboys just for this game, but that looks like it's gonna happen. He's either gonna go to Baltimore or Minnesota. Here are the top most interesting teams. But we've been talking about the wild card race a little. Miami Dolphins, another win since Tua returned. Their offense is really getting going. The Dolphins are back in playoff contention. Can we say that?
I think they are. I think they have a tough game coming up, but I think they've been playing way better since Tua came back. Or the first couple games, no, but now they're really rolling. He's still struggling to find Tyreek, but he's finding Jonnu Smith. He's finding Jalen Waddle. A-Chain's getting going. That offense is as high-powered as we thought coming into the season. And that defense has been playing good because they had to do a lot when Tua was out, so they are still keeping that kind of same level. But I think, especially in the AFC, with that last spot being I think the Broncos have it right now, 7-6 or something like that. I think the Dolphins could sneak into that last spot.
Yeah, that's definitely the spot I'd say is up for grabs, with Baltimore and the Chargers being the other two. I think those are a lot more solidly theirs as of right now, and I really see it harder for them to drop those spots. I think Denver at the 7th seed is the one they could bite the most. I'm now interested. Who do you think would get that spot though, or would win a game again, at least in between those two, Denver or Miami?
Head to head?
Head to head.
I think right now Miami.
Miami? Okay, I'm going to disagree.
Denver, though. I do like Denver.
I like Denver, especially with Bo Nix, the way he's playing right now. He's doing some stuff that have been historic for a rookie quarterback. He did it last week, and then he played another great game this week. But the history he's making is not like the one the guy did last night, who's wearing number 26. What is he? Is he the MVP? What's it looking like for Saquon?
I want to send a message to all the GMs in the NFL. Why did we let the Eagles get him? It's not like they needed more help. They already had a great running attack. They already had a great passing attack. They had a great defense except for last year. And we let them get Saquon Barkley, who is arguably top 2 running backs in the league. And this guy put up 255 yards last night. I think in a year where the quarterback play has been a little down for the teams that are at the top, especially with Mahomes. Josh Allen has been good. Lamar has started off hot, but kind of slowed down a little bit. I think Saquon has to be up there for MVP conversation, especially after that game last night. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think he has to as well. I don't know if I can fully cement him, give him the MVP. I mean, sure, as of right now, I mean, if he keeps this trajectory, obviously. But, I mean, I saw what they did last year to CMC. I think he was up there. He should have been up there. Lamar has better stats this year already than he did last year, and they still gave him the MVP. So, obviously, I'm hesitant to crown him MVP. I think he should be, but I don't think he will be.
Yeah, I agree. They usually, especially lately, they give it to quarterbacks.
Even if they're undeserving, yeah. So, or not undeserving, but what they did isn't as impressive as the running back with what Christian McCaffrey did last year. And if Saquon keeps doing this year, he should be it, but I don't think he'll get it. I think he'll just get the Offensive Player of the Year. which is just more of the skilled player of the year award. MVP's quarterback of the year.
Yeah. Yep. All right, moving on. This week we have a lot of games during the week. We have some Thanksgiving Thursday night games and a Black Friday one. What are your thoughts on those games? Let's talk about the Cowboys Giants first.
Cowboys Giants, the middle of the day game, the traditional game. We've been getting this a lot recently. I think it's the Cowboys. I think the Giants are doing a proper job of tanking. I think that's the reason Tommy DeVito's in instead of Drew Lock, who I think is, in my opinion, a better quarterback than Tommy DeVito. And the Cowboys shown they have signs of life, especially after that big win against Washington last week. They open up as 4-point favorites. You know, you don't love it with the state the Cowboys are in, but I do think they cover in this game because of the even worse state the Giants are in.
Yeah, I agree. Seeing Malik Neighbors being upset, saying it's not the quarterback, there's holes everywhere, just tells you how much down bad this team is. So I do think we can cover. But for fans, not Cowboys fans, but NFL fans, it's kind of a boring game, but I will be watching that game.
Yeah, and then if speaking of boring games, while it's not this game might be closer because it's two bad teams. Earlier in the morning, we've got Lions Bears, the 10-1 Lions that are maybe the best team in the NFL, the best team in the NFL in my opinion, against the Bears that just can't seem to win a game recently, whether it be through a blocked field goal or a heartbreak in overtime. What are we looking for a preview in this game? Do they keep it close, or can the Lions cover the 10.5?
I'll be all over that spread. I would bet all over it. I think the Lions run away with it. I think Caleb Williams maybe in the first half keeps it interesting, but I think 14, 20-point win for the Lions. The Lions are just rolling. I don't think the Bears can stop that offense. I'm not that impressed by the Bears offense myself, and I just think it's a mismatch, and I think the Lions keep rolling and go to 11-1.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with everything you just said. I think the Lions have dominated better teams and covered those 10.5 points against better teams. Until the Bears really figure the things out, which I don't think they will this week in a short week against the Lions. So I'm going to go with the Lions. But there is another NFC North team playing that night, Thursday night, primetime slot, NBC. The Green Bay Packers open up 3.5-point favorites at home in Lambeau against the Miami Dolphins. We all know how Tua does in the cold, but what are we looking forward to this game?
Finally, a good game. We're gonna have to wait all day, eat a lot of turkey, a lot of stuffing to get to that game. Mm-hmm. But I honestly think the Packers will win, even though I said the Dolphins could still make contention. It's just a tough spot for them, short week, going to Lambeau in the cold. And I think Josh Jacobs has been playing amazing, 3 touchdowns this past weekend. I think he continues to roll, and the Packers, I think it'll be close, but I think they could cover that 3.5 and win by 6 or 7 around there.
Yeah, I think so too. I think if this game's played in Miami, I think Green Bay wins, but it's closer. With this game being played at Lambeau Field and the way Tua has been in the cold over the recent years, I do think Green Bay has a better chance of taking control. But I do think it'll definitely be the best game of the day.
Yeah, I agree.
Closest game of the day with the high-powered offense that they have.
Yeah, and then we get a little treat, a Friday night football game. We only got in that once when the Eagles played the Packers to open up the season. Now we got Raiders versus Chiefs on Black Friday. I think another bad game. I think the Chiefs take care of business, and I don't really have much to say about this game.
Yeah, it's a divisional game. The Raiders did beat the Chiefs last year, but that's not going to happen. The Raiders, like the Giants, are tanking. They're both fighting with Jacksonville for that first overall pick. Meanwhile, the Chiefs are looking to win their three-peat. I think the Chiefs open as 13.5-point favorites, or just 13-point favorites, sorry. I think they cover, the Raiders are just a disaster of a team right now.
They are a disaster, but I think I would I wouldn't bet it, but if I had to
I
pick
wouldn't bet it. No, not as I don't like it as much as I like Detroit's, but I could see them covering so easily.
yeah, I like if I had to bet it, I like the points with the Raiders, but I do think the Chiefs are going to win.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
the Chiefs somehow, like you saw against the Panthers, they made Bryce Young look amazing.
Mhm. Obviously. Yeah, no. I mean, this is not the confidence we've had in some other games, but it's just something I could easily, like, if it happens, it's like, yeah, of course it happened.
And imagine the Raiders keep losing or the Giants keep losing. Should
Yeah.
they're in New York or Vegas, I feel.
I think that's what he wants.
Black and silver. Ooh.
That's what he wants. That's definitely what he wants. He wants those big markets. It fits his personality. Obviously, we've talked about the "oh, thank God" or what is he tweets every time the Raiders lose.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and obviously, I don't think he's against the bright lights of New York City either. So, and we know Jacksonville isn't going quarterback, so he's very happy to see with the two teams that are looking like they're gonna end up with a top 3 pick.
Yeah. But anyway, that concludes our episode of House Divided. Tune in for Friday's episode. It will be the first in person. We'll both be in the same city, so we'll be doing an in-person video instead of the Zoom thing. But yeah, big weekend coming up for both of us. The big Lone Star Showdown, the rivalry's back. College game days here. Got a lot to discuss. A lot of playoff implication games. So it'll be an interesting episode. But thanks for watching.
Thank you guys.